Okay, I'm super excited. My name's Kim Hayden. I am the host of Kim Talks podcast, and today is all things real estate. I have had an amazing opportunity gifted to me, and that opportunity has been all around women in real estate. And I've met amazing women in my career. And you know what? This kind of tipped and triggered an idea in my head of let's start a live stream and start getting some of these gals together. Before we get started, I do want to give a huge shout out to Tara Cratch, who is the inspiration of the Realtor Society, and the gals that you're going to meet today will be speakers on her summit, April 18th through the 22nd. And you know what? You're going to see there's a huge variety in the conversation today. But one of the things I absolutely want to kind of look at, we have Tracey, the safety lady, who has been in the industry for a really long time and has seen us evolve from the pagers that we all carried back in the 90s to the technology now where we can almost automate, the showings and such out there. So Tracey's going to be here chiming in from her years of experience, knowing what everything real estate, the back end of real estate. And, because she's here, one of the things I want to talk about is buyers. And this brings us to Krista Mashore. Krista Mashore is one of the absolute leading. She is up there with Brian Buffini and Tracey and the Ninja program. She is a fierce force out there. Just so you know, there's a little secret here about Krista. Krista's achieved something that very few people in the world have achieved, and that is the 25 times comma club through ClickFunnels. So when we talk about finding buyers, we talk about how do you find them, and Krista is an expert at getting the message out digitally and within your community and really leveraging local media, local technology, so that ad tech opportunity. So we've got Tracey and Krista here on the two sides of the coin, really around the technology and the buyers. So I do want to talk a bit about buying. That is the buzz right now in the United States. We are short 4.8 million affordable houses in the United States. So let's look at we got a little bit.
I hear that. There's something in the background. I don't know what it is.
It's coming. It's on Tracey's. Okay, Tracey, we're getting a little bit of feedback from you, and I don't know if it's through your YouTube channel or Facebook, or there's something coming in.
I was not able to connect live, so I don't know what you're hearing.
Okay. So yeah, there's a little something. That's all right. I'll control it on this side. That's all good. Okay. So real quickly, I want to talk about buyers, how to win the bid, and as a buyer's agent, how to be present and safe while representing and running at full tilt. So, Krista, can you kind of take over some of the thoughts around, I guess we're talking to all audiences here, both real estate agents and home buyers. What is the secret to success in getting the house you want these days?
So this is something that I've been focusing on for the past 18 months but I kind of do go at it at a different range, and I'm not sure if I'm taking this totally the wrong way, but I've taken it to where buyers are really, really difficult. So if you're a real estate agent right now, you really don't want buyers, even though we love you buyers, but it's so difficult because every time you go to write an offer, there's like 30, you're competing with 30 different people, and the cash offers are winning, and people that are coming in with zero contingencies. I'm actually buying 2 houses right now for my kids, and it's just insane, right? So we've been focusing on how to get seller content, and so how to get sellers, how to become a listing agent, and to really control the market through listing. So all of our messaging has been towards really getting sellers to understand that they can sell right now, because sellers want to sell, but they're afraid if they sell, they're going to be homeless and not be able to find a replacement property. So our messaging has been on solutions based upon that. But it is hard getting buyers, getting a house right now, because there's limited inventory. We have, a lot more people in the world than we used to have, and a lot less houses. There's less houses being built. So the supply just in no time is it going to change. So it's definitely a problem.
Yeah, I don't see the supply chain opening up for probably another 5 years. We're everything. We have all these effects that are like literally, it's like that butterfly effect. One thing has happened, and another, and another, and another. Um, Before we jump over to Tracey with safety, you did mention though that trying to get sellers off the bench, they become buyers. What are some of the strategies that your agents and even home sellers could initiate in order to help them be able to successfully transition so they sell and buy?
Mhm. So, one of the things obviously is getting a buyer when you want to have your house sold before you go to look, right? Because anytime there's any kind of contingency, if there's not a contingency, in most cases, your contingent offer will not get accepted over an offer that is non-contingent. So if you can sell your house and have the buyer do an extended rent back, maybe 60, 90 days, obviously if you go past 60 days, the lender will think of it as an investment property. So typically 59 is when we do that. Also, there are different type of iBuyer programs out there, and programs where you can actually get someone, you pay a little bit more. So in other words, you'll pay 3 to 6% to be able to have somebody really get the loan for you, sell your house before purchasing. But if you think about that, the amount that you're actually spending, that 3 to 6%, it's not that much considering how much more you're having to pay if you are not a cash offer or if you have a contingency. So there definitely are a lot of options out there. It's just a matter of knowing them and being willing to go in at full force, right? Like when you're selling and buying, you have to understand that when you're selling your house, you're getting anything and everything that you want, right? People are moving contingencies, they're paying over asking, they're doing anything and everything to get that property. When you go to purchase, you need to be willing to do the same thing. You've got to be willing to like go all in. And obviously the lower the price of the home, the more competition there is. If you can get yourself into a higher price point, there's a little bit less competition. But what we're finding across the country is that every single market, no matter where you're at, is definitely very competitive.
Oh, absolutely. We're even seeing towns in Kansas. I don't know if you've seen what's happening. People are actually like towns in Kansas that have been dead in the water since the 30s are all coming back online. The 30s, the decimated the farming communities, and then they kind of, came back online. But everybody's been gravitating. So in some ways, the pandemic has actually prepared us for this supply chain shortage. Now, because we're all out there running around trying to figure out what's going on, I think that there may be some shortcuts that are happening to personal safety, not only for the real estate agents, but also for the buyers, because we're seeing a lot of scams and things like that happening. And this is one of the things I wanted to talk to you, Tracey, about is what are some of the things that you're seeing out there that A, could be prevented, or B, may actually lead to some really sticky situations that we don't want to see any of our agents harmed or hurt. We don't want to see any of our buyers or sellers in a legal predicament. We want everybody to stay as safe as possible. Chris is talking about the financial safety and security of how you transition and move through. Tracey, can you talk to us a little bit about how to keep our physical safety as we navigate these crazy times?
Right. First, I started out as a real estate agent, so I feel your pain. And I've spent over 2 decades teaching real estate agents how to be safe. One thing I had to do, Kim, is in order to get real estate agents to even pay attention to the safety aspect, I had to teach them how to use it to build their business and make more money. So therefore, I told them, you need to include the consumer. That means the seller, that means buyers, and that even means BizBos. So I teach them how to build their business protecting the consumer. When it comes to buyers, everyone is in a hurry trying to get a house. So people are taking shortcuts sometimes. They're buying houses without looking at them, maybe without getting an inspection because it's really competitive. They want the house. So the most recent topic that I have had to address is about a month or so ago, the headlines talked about Redfin and Realtor.com not including crime statistics and data anymore. And there was a big uproar. Agents were saying, if we are educating our consumer about buying a property, now you're taking away crime statistics and crime data. So here's the answer. As a real estate agent, you already know that you are not allowed to answer the question. If a consumer says, is that a good neighborhood? Is that a safe neighborhood? Will my family be okay there? As a real estate agent, you can't answer the question. So I tell real estate agents to be a resource for the buyer. So that means you need to point them to the information that they need, let them make their own decision. And that will help reduce liability, because you don't want someone suing you down the road saying, you told me it was okay and now we're victimized. So you need to be a leader, a resource. So there are 2 places that real estate agents need to tell buyers to look. So the minute they come to you and say, I see a house, I want it, let's do it, you need to say, time out, do your homework first. There is a website that I found called spotcrime.com. If you plug your address into it, the one that they're looking for, and I say for everyone who's watching, you do this as well. Plug your address into spotcrime.com and get ready to be shocked. Because what you're going to find is you're going to find the crime that has been reported in a certain radius from where you live. And if your police department participates in sharing the information is there for you. So that's resource number 1. Tell the buyers, before we look at a property, check out the crime around the property so you know what you're getting into. Number 2, contact the police department. Go to the crime prevention unit and say, hey, as a buyer, I'm considering buying a house in a certain neighborhood. Can you give me an idea of the crime environment there? And the police officer has the statistics. They're going to tell you, there's a lot of car theft there, a lot of burglary there, so you need to be careful. So you are arming the buyer with the information that they need in order to make a decision. So everyone's rushing, slow down, do your homework first, buyers.
Yeah, and that homework doesn't, if you have access to digital content, that homework only takes a few minutes. You just need to know to do it. Okay, Krista, were you just looking on spotcrime.com?
I wrote it down. Yeah, I wrote it down.
You had this very focused look, and it's like,
I was like, I gotta write that down. Yeah.
I think that there's I hope we don't end up in a buyer's remorse hangover in a few years. That's my only kind of concern, is that we're all rushing so fast and we're almost caught up in this tidal wave, and instead of grabbing a surfboard and kind of riding it, we're actually getting caught in that spin cycle over and over again. So what's next? I feel like we are actually reliving. We're in 100-year cycle. So we've gone through the drought and the fires all across southern United States. We've had this plague, and now we're seeing supply chains and wars and things like this that are going to have even greater impact. Krista, would you say what Tracey was saying, contact the local police department. If you have an agent that you're working on getting them to the buyer or to the selling side of the equation, would you say that would maybe behoove them, or maybe what some of the script would be around if they wanted to actually preemptively get some of that information? Have you ever kind of coached an agent through that, how to get further information on their local farm area?
So the question is how to get more information on where you're at locally?
Correct.
Yeah. So there's great resources. The best resource is obviously Google, right? You go to Google and you start typing in a question. When you type in a question, it's going to show you what are the most recent related searches that people are searching. And then when you click on one of them, if you go to the bottom, there's also recently related searches. Take a look at the related searches. Also, there's a website called answerthepublic.com. If you go to answerthepublic.com, there are free, you can do like 2 to 3 free searches a day, or I think it's around $99 a month if you want unlimited searches. And it will tell you what are the top questions that people are asking in Google. You get hundreds of questions when you do that. Really just, whenever, the best thing to do is really understand who you're going after, who is your client avatar, who are you going after, and having your messaging and your content speak directly to them. So in other words, marketing is really, really important. And the more that our marketing, our messaging speaks directly to somebody, the more likely they're going to convert. So for example, I always give the example of, if I'm talking right now about it being a great time to sell a house because there's limited inventory and there's multiple offers, if a seller already knows that, he's tuning me out because the whole world knows it's a great time to sell, right? The seller's worried about not being able to find a replacement property. So my hook has to be, are you thinking about selling, but you're afraid that if you sell, you're going to be homeless and not be able to find a replacement property? Oh my gosh, I totally get it. Like I've been there too. So now all of a sudden he's leaning in and listening, right? Another good example is if I'm speaking to, let's say a buyer. It's a great time to buy, even though it's not right now, it's a hard time to buy, but it's a great time to buy a house because you get, you have the ability to write off and probably save money on taxes. But if I'm a veteran, I don't have great credit, I don't have a lot of money in the bank, I don't think I have the ability to buy. So again, I'm ignoring you, I'm not listening to the messaging. But if I say, are you a veteran and you don't have a lot of money in the bank and you don't have the best credit, but you actually are a veteran, thank you so much for serving our country. Do you know that you probably have the ability to purchase a home? All of a sudden now my marketing messaging, like it's changing because I'm hooking the buyer, I'm hooking the seller into actually listening further. So, you really have to understand who your person is, what they want, what their desires are, what their fears are, what their hopes are, what their aspirations are, like what they're going through, and have your messaging speak directly to that. And you will have a much easier time of actually converting.
Excellent. Yes. Know your audience. Know your audience. So I want to, for the next 10 minutes, I'd like to actually flip the dialogue from serving the real estate agent to stepping into the shoes of the consumer and the seller. Okay. So we've talked about, know your market, know your resources, take a moment and breathe and ensure you're prepared. I mean, who here was a Girl Scout? I was a Girl Scout. Anybody else a Girl Scout?
I was a brownie.
There you were, brownie. I was like I was the most uncool kid you've ever met. It was me and the Girl Scout leader were the last of the group. 8th grade. I'm showing up. I got my uniform. I'm ready to go. And nobody else. So last Girl Scout standing. So I'd like to actually flip this over to a conversation that we can actually talk about measures of safety and security, peace of mind, and proactive steps that can be taken if you are working to get into a home. Because I would agree with Krista. I do absolutely believe that we're in this for some time to come, because as soon as we get the world on order with supply chain, we now have disruptions happening in the EU. We're going to see another supply chain disruption, right? So that being said, what are some words of advice or some things that people maybe should put on their checklist who are looking to enter the market? And there's a lot of fear in that right now. So Tracey, can we start with you as to some of the things that people can prevent it so they align with the right agent, they're finding the right, so I'm going to leave that with you.
Okay. And you've got a talker here, so let me keep it succinct. When it comes to sellers, a lot of times sellers are putting their house on the market and they're afraid. We're going to have strangers walking through the house and, who's going to be here? What are we going to do? This is when the onus is on the real estate agent from the very beginning to assure them that your safety is most important. It's not just about selling your house and getting a commission or netting the proceeds. We need to talk about your safety. So I teach real estate agents to walk in with a safety and security checklist that I created for them. You need to walk in the door at the listing appointment, and you're talking about getting medicine out of medicine cabinet, jewelry out of jewelry boxes, hiding the mail that has financial documents. You don't know who's walking through your house. That means depersonalizing your house. That means the pictures of your kids, the schools they go to, the camps, the schedules, the soccer schedules, everything. You don't know who's walking through your house, and hopefully the real estate agent who is showing your property has vetted the client, but you need to assume that they haven't in order to be on the safer side. So real estate agents will come through and they will talk to you about ways to make sure your house is safe and secure while it's on the market, lighting, locks, landscaping, everything. So in that situation, you need to work with an agent who's been safely trained. If you're selling your house on your own, that's a whole different ballgame. FSBOs and for sale by owners, that's a big deal. As I tell agents, FSBOs don't necessarily respect the work that you do. FSBOs think, how hard is it? I'll put a sign in the yard, sell the house, and I'll save the commission and make all of this money. So here's the way you approach that, because a FSBO would be a great listing to have fresh on the market. This is perfect, right? So here's what I say. And if you read the Washington Post, I did an interview about 2 weeks ago about FSBO safety. And it talks about the things that FSBOs don't know. Also, for real estate agents, Realtor Magazine, I did an article about 4 or 5 years ago about how to convert FSBOs to listing. The bottom line is I've created a checklist. There are 13 things that FSBOs don't think about when their house is on the market. Typically, they put a sign in the yard, someone calls, they knock on the door, and the FSBO will let them in the house. What are you doing? Any other time, if your house is, if it's not on the market, would you let a stranger in? But now all of a sudden there's a sign in the yard, you want a commission, you're letting strangers in. So I tell real estate agents, staple your business card to this FSBO tip sheet. Hand it to FSBOs as a community service. And the bonus is that it could be a business development tool. By the time they get to number 13, they're thinking, oh my gosh, this is dangerous. What am I doing? The goal is to keep everyone safe. So FSBOs need to know about medicine out of medicine cabinets, jewelry out of jewelry boxes, getting those electronic devices that are scattered throughout all of our houses, getting the stacks of mail, the financial statements, get that out of sight because you don't want identity theft issues. So agents can serve the community by keeping FSBOs as well as sellers safe. And if you're out there and you want to sell your house on your own, be familiar with the safety issues. And if it's just too much for you, you need to find a real estate agent who has been trained in how to protect you as well as themselves.
You know what? So is that a list that you're going to be sharing at the conference?
Yes, FSBO is a PDF that I created, 13 tips. There's a space for business cards. Agents, staple your business card. And when you see a FSBO, do not talk to them about putting your house on the market and I have a buyer for you. Isn't that the oldest line in the book? You know, I have the perfect buyer. I mean, nowadays that might be true, but the goal is they think they can do it. Let them do that, but give them the tips so they can do it in a safe manner. Stick it in their mailbox, stick it in their door, mail it to them. So that's a FSBO safety tip sheet, a PDF that I created for agents to use.
That's incredible. I'm actually looking forward to that because this is 22 years in the business, and Tracey, this is the first time I've heard about a cohesive checklist on safety for sell by owners.
This is what I do.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, Krista, I know that you are a high focus on the listing side, as I am. But when we talk about buyers, so we're talking to the general public. What are some of the ways that we can that the buyers can prepare themselves, and how can they vet an agent and ensure that they're aligning themselves? It's going to be frustrating. I want everybody who's out there who watches and listens to this, if you're in a buyer's position, you are going to get frustrated. You need to prepare yourself. This is like running a marathon. You are in the Olympic sports of wrestling. It ain't going to be easy. You are going up against a lot of people. And not only are you going up against a lot of people, you're also going up against Zillow, who is buying that middle range product. You're going up against Wall Street, which now has major companies coming in and buying entire communities of rental properties and turning them into rental properties. So you have a lot of competition, and I am absolutely certain Krista, with her plethora of information, because she has had so many agents go through her programs, I'm sure you can kind of maybe speak to the home buyer and give them kind of an insight how to align themselves the best they can and keep their sanity.
So what I would recommend doing is before you go to look for a home, is to understand what the list price to the sales price is averaging in that area, right? So in other words, if homes are being, I'm just going to use really easy numbers. If homes are being listed for $300,000 and they're selling for $370,000, well, you know that percentage on average is what you're going to need to pay more. So if your cap is at 330,000, you should not be looking in that price range. You need to understand what the list price to sales price ratios are and take into account that difference so that you're able to actually qualify. You can afford the houses in that area. You're just going to continue to keep getting beat out and bid out. Also understanding like what kind of contingencies can you remove? How much can you bid over? And understand that when you are saying, hey, I'm removing my contingencies on the purchase price, that means that if it appraises for, 350,000 and you're paying 400,000, that's like 50,000 that you're just kind of throwing out there. It's kind of like you're throwing it away, but it's not a horrible thing because the market is still appreciating. And I know that, people are wondering, are we going to crash again? And buyers are worried about the crash. And here's the thing about the crash is that the crash happened back in the day. And I was a part of that. Like I sold, hundreds and hundreds of REOs. So the crash was real, and it was a fear that people still have. But the thing about the crash is that the crash happened buyers and sellers because the lenders were loaning money like they were saying this is A paper and it was really D paper. And they were doing stated income loans where people were going in and being able to purchase a home without ever even, checking if they could afford it or looking at their bank statements or verifying that they actually were making enough to actually qualify. All of those things, and appraisals back then, houses were appraising, from 1 week to the next at $200,000 more. None of that stuff is happening now. There are such strict guidelines on appraisals and on, are people really qualified, that the crash most likely is not happening, right? Like the crash is, waiting for the crash is like waiting for, Armageddon, which hopefully won't ever happen. So in my opinion, the crash is not going to be here, but really understand like what you're going into, what houses are being listed for, what they're selling for. Understand that you are going to have to pay more, and going in with the very best terms. Listen to your agent, make sure your agent is familiar with the area, make sure your agent has experience in selling and in buying. They know what the absorption rate is, they know what's actually happening locally, and they should really like set you up with expectations. I can't tell you how many times I've heard, oh, we looked at 20 houses and then we just quit and we're renting now. That shouldn't happen, because if your agent really sat you down and said, here's where it's at, here's what's happening, in order for you to get these houses in any neighborhood, here's what you're going to have to come in with, and here's what you're going to have to do, like really understanding where you're at. And don't be afraid, because if you look at interest rates are still incredibly low. Yes, they've gone up about a percentage, but they're still incredibly low. And, back in the day, interest rates were 18%. Right now, they're like 4%. 18% is a lot more. And what you're going to be able to save in taxes, most likely, even though the prices that are going up, like it's a win-win in every direction, but you just need to know where you're at and where you're going to need to lie to actually get the home. I think you're muted.
There we go. I'm back.
There you go.
Sorry. I had some feedback going on here. We're filming in our studio also. We have a gal in from Atlanta filming her course. So I think what we'll do is I'd love to look at continuing in a few weeks or 3 weeks down the road, continuing this conversation and start looking at some of the clauses and conditions we're seeing for buyers. And that's a whole nother conversation. So understanding that, to our real estate agents out there, try to be cautious about definitive language. Do not say, oh, I wouldn't do that because that's not right. Things are shifting and moving so quickly. The last thing we want to do is cobble our home buyers and sellers' perception of their options and opportunities. So I think using very clear language, but not cutting things off at the knees. I've seen this a few times here in Calgary, and it does affect the mental set of the home sellers and buyers as to what to expect. So when you're thinking about this, to bring a bit more to what Krista just talked about, I do agree with Krista on the fact that we are in for a long haul. There's some different things happening globally right now. I know a lot of people have said, oh, United States is giving everything away to China and China's going to be the next superpower. Well, there's another big thing happening on top of all of this is world demographics and aging. The United States and Canada right now are poised as the only two developed countries with positive growth. You need human beings to keep things moving forward. It is estimated by 2050 that China's current population will be 50%. And this is all a residual effect from the years of only one child or only a male child. We're seeing Denmark is now paying people to have children because we know without growth. So this, because Canada and the United States is a land of opportunity and we have this immigration opportunities and people coming in, we are projecting to have continual growth, population growth. So that compounded with supply chain stoppage and everything, we aren't even as close to real estate prices as what you see in the UK, folks. So we're still in a good spot. So if you're sitting today, should I or shouldn't I? You're sitting here thinking that real estate may be cheaper in a few years. Do true investigative research Go into news outlets that are beyond what you normally watch. Start doing global food source, global everything, and really look. We are poised in the United States and Canada to be the home for people around the world. So we need to be truly the professionals and the neighbors to step forward. Any closing remarks, Krista, that you'd like to share?
No, I think it's great. I wanted to hear from Tracey, like for realtors, because
Yes, I would
I
love to
remember
hear
when I
it.
was a
So
realtor,
Tracey, you
yeah, I had to do
awesome.
open houses. I was like scared, you know. I think it's like I hate open houses. I'm pretty get killed or raped or something. So hopefully
But there
she's
are
got
ways
some
to
good
do
advice.
Tracey,
there are ways to
take
do them safely. So that's my theme: is how to do open houses safely, how to meet your new clients. There are ways to do your jobs in a safe, actionable, realistic manner, and how to do it and build business. That's my job, and no one else is talking about it the way I talk about it. So, like I said, I've been an agent. I feel your pain, and then that's what I do: teach you how to do it. Final thing that I wanted to say is real estate agents are heroes. They're professionals. So in the rental scam, that's the headlines are all over the place. Real estate agents, every single one of your listings, set up a Google alert. Google it. Set up a Google alert for every single listing. That way, if someone jacks your listing and they try to copy it and scam people, you will get an email and you will see where it is. You can contact your sellers immediately and say, hey, we have a problem. Let's get some signage up. So agents are on the front line. If you're trying to do real estate on your own, trust a professional. Let them help you.
Absolutely.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, folks, we're going to close this out here today. I appreciate you taking time. You will also find this will be distributed through iTunes and Spotify as a podcast. We'll also be dropping this onto YouTube. In the end of the day, we all need food, shelter, education, and medication. We all need love from our friends and family around us. And real estate agents can become part of your journey. They can be part of your family. They can be the hero to your story. Just give them time and grace and be clear and define what you want. We can help. So again, Krista, Tracey, thank you. And if you're a real estate agent out there, you're a little stuck right now, do join us at the Realtor Society's Summit, April 18th through the 22nd. We have 30 amazing speakers, coaches, leaders in this industry, and we're all here to help. So until then, everybody in Canada, stay warm, and everybody else have an amazing day.